Hello, friends! Welcome back to another Books and Coffee. Thank you guys for joining me once again. We're doing our bi-weekly video. This week is a real treat. Definitely wanted to take some time, like I said, now with this new schedule I'm still working out. Kind of what I want to talk about. Now, obviously, based off of my last video, which if you haven't watched, definitely go ahead and go check it out. I will have the link in the description. But I addressed that I was dealing with some mental health stuff, and I'm still kind of dealing with it. Obviously, I think that now I kind of understand what people mean by, like, we always deal with it. Because yes, no, I'm always going to be dealing with this. It's a lot of stuff that I got to work on myself. But I will happily let you know that it is, and I am getting better. Obviously, we still have our bad days, but we also have good days, and I'm very thankful for both because I learn how to cope with it both ways. But anyway, today is a good day though. We are talking about books, so I'm very excited. And on the note of mental health, I actually wanted to talk about just a very small handful of books that I've either read recently or reread that actually kind of helped me over these last few weeks, just to kind of cope, help me relate, just to help me, just overall help. Sometimes all you really need is a good distraction and a good book, a good cry, a good laugh, and these books definitely did that for me. So let's just jump right into it. So the first book that I'm going to talk about that I actually read not too recently, but recently within this last few months was the book House on the Cerulean Sea. It was actually recommended to me by a very good friend of mine, my best friend actually. And she absolutely recommended this to me based off of another book that I really like, which I'm actually going to be talking about also in this video. But yes, The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This book was amazing. In terms of how, like, what this book gave me, like, how did it, what did it give me to and filled me with joy, which it did. It filled me with so much joy. Not only that, but it just gave me the warm fuzzies. And I cannot tell you when, like, again, and I can only talk from my perspective and, like, what I'm going through and how I've dealt with it. But going through depression, I feel like, for the first time, and I don't even feel like it's the first time. I feel like I've had depression, I've just never really noticed. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I've kind of ignored it and handled it the very wrong way. But when dealing with depression, all you do is at least for me, all I am is I feel sad and I don't want to do anything and I just kind of want to be gone. And this book absolutely helped with that kind of getting away, going on a mini vacation, if you will, which is super funny if you've read this book. Haha, I made a joke. But yeah, overall, this book was super heartwarming, and it really just kind of like in the theme of like finding your true family, and that like your family can be in the people that you find, and just being able to step out of your comfort zone and being able to find yourself, because you can find a lot of who you are once you jump out of your comfort zone. And it is something that I definitely can relate to, as well as, stepping out of the comfort zone and learning to kind of heal with that as well, which again, definitely got that from this book. And of course, the best thing about, when you do step out of your comfort zone is like the best magical things can happen, or things that kind of catch you off guard that you never thought would happen, which is exactly what happens in this book for our main character, Linus Baker, who is so adorable. I love him so much. But yeah, no, this book was really heartwarming, and it made me laugh, it made me cry. This book is probably going to be one of those where I very hold near and dear to me, just like the other books I have here, amongst other books that I wish I could fit into one video, but I feel like those books deserve either their own video or like to be smashed up with other books that are of the similar genre. But this book, very, very sweet. So when it comes to specifically how did House on the Cerulean Sea help me? How did it help me cope with things? And the biggest thing for me really is just this journey with Linus going through finding themselves, stepping out of that comfort zone, like I said. For him, it was obviously leaving his like comfortable desk job, learning to kind of expand one's mind and one's point of view to other point of views, and just being able to stand up for themselves. Like, that was something that was extremely powerful for me. But of course, the big thing for me was stepping out of the comfort zone and being able to become, like, finding things within that, like finding a new adventure when you do step out of the comfort zone. What is it about yourself that you find when that happens? For me, a big part of it is communication. I am not very good at talking, which is surprising to most people. But I guess it's not in terms of like having trouble talking. I think it's more specifically asking for help. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, because I feel like, at least again, for me, from my perspective, I don't want to speak for other people, but definitely for me, asking for help is really a really big thing. And I think it just kind of stems from, I have this like innate feeling that I need to prove that I can do the things that I say I'm going to do. And when I fail, or when I get frustrated because I can't do those things, even if I've done it before, but now for some reason I can't do it again, rather than asking for help or rather than asking for advice, I kind of just internalize it until it bottles up and bottles up and bottles up, and then I finally explode, which is, you know, something that I am working on right now within myself. And so that's how I related to Linus when it came to him kind of just communicating his feelings, voicing his opinions, and not being afraid of either the criticism or ridicule, or even of just other people's opinions about him. Like, that's something else too that I feel like, for me at least, was really impactful. And that it's when he stands up for himself, and for even the orphans that he goes to check up on. And, you know, the people are just being awfully rude to just him, to the kids. And for when he like stands up and basically tells them, in no shorter terms, sorry children, but fuck off. You know, it's one of those where that was so inspiring, because it's like, yeah, no, he just didn't care. He was himself, and, you know, regardless of what other people would say, like, they're not in control of his life. Like, he knows who he is truly, and he is slowly becoming happy with who he is. And he's also like not being shy about it. Which again, he was like this really mousy character, and then he like throughout the story, he like blossoms into this amazing outspoken person who still kind of is mousy, but, you know, isn't so much so towards the end of the book. And that's something like towards the end of the book, I was like, wow, I know I'm on that path to being kind of that outspoken, which makes me excited, because I definitely am looking forward to the day that I could be super self-confident in myself and in all of my dreams and abilities, just like Linus is. So, yeah. All right, so the next book on the list is the book that I had actually mentioned before, of why my friend recommended me House on the Cerulean Sea. Not only was House on the Cerulean Sea super cute, super funny, and just gave me the warm fuzzies, but it absolutely reminded me of the feeling of whimsicalness and fluffiness and just overall fun, laughter, joy, everything that this book means to me. And this book is actually super, super near and dear to my heart. Again, only read not super recently, but like within this year. And I am happy that I didn't read this when I was younger, because I don't feel like I would have really liked it as much when I was younger. So I absolutely appreciate this book as an adult now, which is hilarious. But it is Howells Moving Castle by Diana Wayne Jones. I I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be very transparent. I made a video with my best friend on this, which is coming soon. Definitely just trying to, like I said, work out some scheduling issues. And of course, just trying to make sure, stay in check with my mental health and stuff, and just make sure that, that video, in terms when it comes to editing, when it comes to the music, I want to make sure that it is done right, as that video was a lot of love and labor, twice over. I will explain that later, but back to the book. But anyway, so I will go into way more detail about, obviously, this book as a whole, because again, this book is amazing. I am a huge fan of the Studio Ghibli film. This book and movie means so much to me that I honestly can't describe to you the feelings and emotions that I get every time I watch the movie, and when I read the book, it gave me the same feelings, if not more so. So yeah, it is very, very important to me. And honestly, it definitely, I feel like, helped me with my bout of depression that I've been going through, because it was just a really, really good, whimsical, funny, and just heartwarming distraction that I feel like I needed just to kind of pull myself out of the world for a bit, just to kind of forget my sorrows, forget my worries for like however long it took me to read. I think it honestly didn't take me that long. But yes, no, this book was amazing. This book is super, super cute. And I cannot tell you how many times I laughed out loud, how many times I teared up reading this book. It was so good and so cathartic for me. So when it comes to what exactly this book gave me, or what lesson I feel like I learned from reading Howells Moving Castle, and honestly, it's that I'm not as bad of a person as I think I am, to be quite honest. And that mainly has to do with Howells' character, who I absolutely love in this book. Oh my gosh, like I love him in the movie, but I love him even more in the book. But yes, no, because I don't want to spoil too much, because like I said, I did make an entire video with this book, so you will experience all of my love for Howell and for Sophie and everybody when that video comes out. But definitely helped me with that in particular lesson. Sometimes I think that I am not the best person that I can be, which I feel like everybody is, and everybody feels that way. And I feel like I'm very, very hard on myself for that reason. And I feel like the best way that I'm able to kind of just describe it is that, so as you all know, every person does this. I don't know who doesn't do this. If you don't do this, please tell me your secret, or you might be crazy, so don't. But I feel like everybody puts up a face. They put up a facade, they put a mask on. And that's something that they take without them when they go to work, when they go out with friends. You always put some sort of act on, or mask, if you will. And slowly but surely, I feel like those facades and masks slowly become us. And what I mean by that is we kind of trick ourselves into thinking that's how we are. So then when the real version of us, or like, when you're faced with a mental health crisis, again, just speaking from my personal experience so far, but I feel like when I first experienced my depression, and when I was feeling these emotions of feeling sad and not feeling my joyful, cheery self, because as anyone will know, and as you could probably tell from my previous videos, I'm not this very serious, not this super, I guess you could say, monotone-esque type person. I'm very bubbly, I'm very cheery. And the thing with me is that I thought that that's kind of like how I was. I was this carefree songbird. Like, that's how I've always seen myself, and that's how I've always acted. But in all honesty, that was a facade that I put up to kind of deal with shit. And so when it came to, facing my, depression for the first time, it was then that I realized that while depression doesn't define me and who I am, it also made me realize that I don't have to be super bubbly and super cheery all the time, because that is exhausting. If anything, that is something that I learned from my job, which I won't go into complete detail about my job, but my job does require me to kind of keep an indifference personality and to, in no shorter terms, not give a flying fuck. And that's mainly to protect myself and to protect my attitude and just kind of like overall, like, you know, again, just not give my energy to people that are energy suckers out there. And I feel like with the facade of trying to be cheery and happy, and, you know, that was something that I just always thought that was just who I was. And now I'm coming to realize that while that's part of me, that isn't all of me. And that's something that I feel like Howell kind of goes through in this book, and something that I really learned from him, because there are things that he feels like he is or isn't. And while it's true that those things don't define him as a whole, those little things are a part of him, and he slowly comes to learn to accept those things. And obviously he comes to learn that he's just not perfect, which is something that I am slowly starting to learn as well, that I am not perfect. I honestly don't want to be perfect. I feel like imperfection is beauty, and yeah, there you go. So the other thing I think I also took away from Howell in this book is, other than obviously the facade and dropping it and kind of accepting that while genuinely, you know, some of those traits that you thought were your whole, they're actually still a part of you, they're just not the whole of you, is that just being your genuine self is actually really nice. That's something that I got not just from Howell, but from Sophie, from actually all the characters, actually. But yeah, just being your genuine self, and how you don't have to be ashamed of it, that being your genuine self is very healthy, and that your genuine self has flaws, and you have not perfections, but you have like good qualities, you have bad qualities, but all of that makes you genuinely you. And that is something for me that I am slowly learning myself, is that there are things that I do, that I say, and that, you know, that are just overall, they make me genuinely me. And, you know, whether that be thoughts, whether that be ideas, whether that be, you know, whatever, each individual thing makes me. And it's learning to accept those things and learning to grow from my flaws, learning, okay, cool, these are my flaws, how can I fix them so that way I can become a better version of myself, and I can just be genuinely me, and I can accept myself for who I am. Like, that's something that's so important. I feel like for me, definitely for the world, and for just people in general. But yeah, so definitely a good lesson to learn. All right, so the last little books that helped me get through this little bout of mental health depression issue, for me anyway, was a new manga that I started reading, as well as the anime that I started watching, that the manga, or that the anime, you know, is based off of. So super excited to talk about this. I was thinking about making a whole video based off of this series when I bought more volumes. However, it really did get me just through this little drought of depression that I was going through, and it was just a really cute, really great distraction, as well as like some lessons that were learned, you know, from this. So I definitely wanted to share it, and it is Spy X Family. So right now I only have volumes 1 and 2, and the reason for this is I am doing my utmost best to save money, because I am actually going to be going to Anime Expo this year, and I want to try to save as much money as I can, because I know I'm going to be buying manga, I know I'm going to be buying figures, as well as other things to decorate my more anime. So can't be spending too much money, but definitely know that I will be collecting all of the volumes that I can of this series. Oh, hello. Okay, I'm just gonna move the microphone up a little bit. Okay, I have to move the microphone just because if I don't, then all you're gonna hear is this. which is very cathartic and very cute, but I don't need that all in the video because all you hear is so yeah. But yes, Spy X Family. First of all, this so far this series, as long as the anime, is so cute. It is so fun. It is so whimsical, and it is absolutely heartwarming to the point where I'm literally overloaded most of the time with how freaking cute this series is. Like, damn. Also, I am simping so hardcore for the main character on the front cover of Volume 1 who plays the dad in this family. He is super cute. He is Agent Twilight, as he is a secret agent spy. But yes, no, definitely simping super hard for this character. So, another husbando. So, how this series has helped me kind of, battle this, mental health issues that I've been going through, or not issues, but I guess mental health challenges that I've been going through. And it's actually just gave me a really good laugh. It is such a cute little distraction. It is such a cute story. And of course, for me, the big thing was the characters. I absolutely love our three main characters, which is Twilight, who goes by the code name Lloyd Forger. He plays the dad in the family. And then you have little Anya Forger, who is the little girl that Twilight adopts in order to make his little fake family. And then I don't have, let me see, I wonder if she is, well, I think she's actually in Volume 1. But yes, here she is. So, and then we have the mom in this series, and her name is Yor Breyer. And she is a secret assassin. Love her to death. She is the cutest and prettiest, I feel like, anime girls that are in this series, I feel like. I'm trying to find, like, the best picture of her. Okay, this one's actually a cute one. But yes, this is Yor right here. She is super cute. I don't know if you could see her very well within the light. But yeah, that's her. But anyway, so, but yes, Yor Breyer, or in this case, Yor Forger. Yor Forger. Yeah, I think that's her last name. But anyway, so yes, so Yor Forger. But anyway, all three of these characters are so unique in their personalities, in their likes and their dislikes, and also just kind of what drives them, but also like their flaws as well. And I feel like for me, it was really huge to see their flaws and how I can relate to them, and also kind of watch how they learn from them. Because in a way, it kind of helps me figure out, oh, well, that's something that I'm kind of going through right now. Maybe not, killing people is the best way, or going under, being a secret agent might not help, but something you did, and how you dealt with that might be like a neat thing to self-reflect on and maybe adapt myself. Who knows? So with this series in particular, just because it's such a short manga as of right now, from what I've read as well as watched, I kind of broke it down into characters and how I related to what they're going through or what their struggles are. So, for example, the first character that I picked to talk about in this video was Yor, which is the mom figure in this family. And for me, I really kind of related to her because she really honestly takes things to the extreme. And by extreme, I mean mega extreme. Like, there's at one point where, no super spoilers, but there is at one point where Anya is trying to get into like this prestigious school, and she's on currently the waiting list. And Yor has like this really funny extreme moment where she thinks, oh, so that means I'm gonna have to kill one of these kids' parents in order for the kid to drop out so my Anya can get into this school. And then Yor's like, nope, can't solve anything by death. And so yeah, so she takes things to the mega extreme, but she's also a huge overthinker. And I relate to that so much, because that is basically my weakness. Is I am a huge overthinker. Big time. I overthink with work, with my day job. I overthink with my voiceover work. I even overthink when making these videos. Like, pretty sure either like 2-3 minutes before I started this rant, or even 2-3 minutes after I make this rant, I will be sitting here looking at my notebook and being like, oh my gosh, what else do I have to talk about? Did that sound weird? Did that sound right? Yeah, all of that. Huge overthinker. So I definitely related to her in that retrospect. And of course, the other thing that she also does is that she's very critical of herself. She's very critical of her actions. And she also is like wanting to make up for what she's lacking. And by that, I mean, especially when I mean about what she's being critical of. She's being critical because she doesn't think she's a very good wife. And she's also being critical because she doesn't think she's a good mom. And that all just comes from insecurities because, one, she's never been married before, and two, she's never been a mom before. So she feels like she has to like meet these expectations of somebody. But when you think about it, it's like, well, what are you comparing yourself to if you've never done it before? And that's where I kind of relate to her, because I also do that to myself, where I will compare myself to other people or just overthink and compare myself to this fictional person or fictional goal that is not there. It's like, what are you comparing yourself to? You don't have to compare yourself to whatever. You are you. If you achieve one thing at one point, great. And if I achieve it again, amazing. If I go beyond that, amazing. But I don't have to compare myself, especially when I'm going on a downward spiral, and be like, oh, look at how high I used to be. It's like, yes, no, you'll get there. You'll get back there eventually. You just gotta, be consistent and, work your way back up. Life is like that. You're gonna have the really good highs and you're gonna have the really bad lows, but it's how you handle both the situations and even in between that kind of gets you through life. And I feel like that's kind of like what Yor is going through right now in the series, and even like at the beginning of the series. And so that's how I kind of related to her in that retrospect. And of course, the beauty of all of this too is that, she actually voices her concerns to Lloyd/Twilight. And it is something where he kind of is communicating with her back. And so that's another thing that I do like about Yor, is that she actually communicates most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time when she's feeling this insecure. And of course, it is one of those where, because she communicates, Twilight/Lloyd is able to, just kind of give his 2 cents, just kind of reassure her in a sense of like, hey, you are a good wife and you are a really good mom to Anya and stuff. And I know that you're going to continue to get better at doing both things. Right now you can't cook. That's fine. I'm teaching you how. Yes, we've, made some kind of not good judgment calls on teaching Anya how to fight, but like you're learning how to be a mom, and that takes time. And so I appreciate you wanting to be a good mom for Anya. So, there's just those things, and those are things that I really admire about Yor and would like to emulate, slowly into my life. All right, so character number 2 that I'm talking about is actually Lloyd Forger, aka Twilight Super Spy, aka new anime simp daddy. But yes, I love Lloyd. What's really cool about Twilight / Lloyd in general, I'm just gonna call him Lloyd. It's much easier. But what I really like about Lloyd's character is that, in terms of his special spy ability, is that he is a master of disguise. So he is constantly portraying different scenarios, different people, putting on different, disguises and stuff to get his missions done, because he is the best of the best at what he does. And that is something that I relate to wholeheartedly in terms of being the best of the best of what I do. But also, like Lloyd, I am very critical of myself. And much kind of like how we talked about before, I am a huge overthinker. But also, with the being the best of the best of what I do, obviously, kind of like previously what I talked about in the Howells Moving Castle book, Lloyd is constantly putting up these disguises. And sometimes you get lost in that. And that's kind of like, with me too. Like I was saying before, yes, I love books. Yes, I love anime. And yes, I'm this go-to cheery type of person. But that is not my entire personality. And there is much more to me, just like there is much more to Twilight. And sometimes we can be very critical of ourselves, especially when we don't do the best of ourselves. And especially when that facade cracks. That is something that, I'm very critical about myself because I feel like there's a certain image that everybody wants to emulate, and whenever that image is cracked or it either gets misconstrued or whatever the case, we are very critical of it. We are very insecure about it. And that is something that I really wholeheartedly related to Lloyd to when it came to that particular trait. Again, just being very critical of myself and everything I do. And that has to do with everything. Like I said, with my day job, with my voiceover work, with YouTube, with even TikTok, everything in my life I am super critical about. And kind of watching how Lloyd handles being critical of himself is not only comically hilarious, and gave me a good laugh, but it also made me self-reflect, because there are times where he catches himself and he's like, oh man, well, progress is slow and it will take time. And it's like, oh, wow, that was a lot in a very comical short 2 seconds. Because it's true, because I'm so critical of myself, I feel like I have to accomplish things at a specific time, it's like everything has to get done now. But it's like, that's not how it works. That's not how life works, friends. It takes time. Sometimes there are certain goals or certain things that do take time, which is why I kind of like to think of my overall goal and dream, which is to get more involved in the voice acting world. So I'm definitely working on, more. I'm definitely practicing dubbing here at home. I'm practicing reading scripts, getting some practice in, getting some really good advice from some amazing voice acting friends that I have and that I've made. You know who you are, you beautiful people. So thank you. But those kind of goals, those are long term. So the result, and the progress is slow. But I know I'll get there. But I have to be patient. I have to, put in the work and just keep up the grind and know that every day is a success because I am moving forward with that dream. Now, when it comes to little goals or little accomplishments that I'm looking for example, I am putting together a cosplay that I'm going to be wearing for Anime Expo, and I am very excited. I cut out the pattern for it this all weekend. Throughout the week, I'm going to be trying to figure out how to do the fabric, and and that's kind of something small, so that's going to be within a month is what, by the end of the month, that will be done. That is a small project. One more example is that I am also getting back into playing piano, and ironically, I'm actually learning how to play the Howells Moving Castle theme, which is the merry-go-round of life, and that is something that I'm doing daily. So all weekend, for a couple of hours, maybe 30 minutes throughout the day, I will go downstairs and I'll just play a little bit and just keep practicing the thing that I already know, and then slowly adding, something new. And that's just something I'm going to be doing every day. Even now, after I record this video, I'm probably going to go downstairs, play a little bit more to practice to get it into the muscle memory. And that's kind of how I've been able to figure out balance-wise. And it also actually really helps with the depression. And because then I feel like I'm progressing in everything I want to do. I know that for my voiceover, that's going to be a long time coming, that as long as I'm doing, 1 to 2 hours of practice every day, as long as I'm reaching out to people, being communicative with my friends who want to help me out, that's progress, that I'm getting there. And the same thing with my YouTube channel. As long as I'm making videos, as long as I'm thinking about content, and as long as I'm, making an effort to move that forward, then I'm satisfied. But it's all just kind of moving forward, not feeling like I'm stagnant, which I feel like is where a lot of my depression comes from, is just feeling stagnant. And that's something that, with Lloyd, he also doesn't want to feel stagnant. And so he is making sure that he's making the right moves in order to see the long game, which definitely can relate to on that part. And the last character that we're going to be touching on here in Spy X Family is little Anya Forja. She is the cutest character in this whole series. I absolutely adore her. She is, oh my gosh, I can't issue. All I can say is that she must be protected at all cost. And we all know this. Whoever has read this, who has ever watched this, you all know that she must be protected at all cost. But yes, oh man, she is just so pure. Like that if I had to describe Anya Forger, she is definitely pure. And what I mean by that is that she is so pure in the sense of all she really wants is to be loved, to be cherished, and to be a part of a family. And that is the most purest form of like unselfish need and love that I have ever witnessed in a character. And it is so heartwarming. So I'm just going to talk about a little mini spoiler right here. It's not the biggest of spoilers. You actually find this out in episode 1 or in volume 1 if you have or will read it. But I just need to say it to make my point in terms of like how I've related to Anya, which is, so in the manga and as well as the anime, you find out that Anya is a telepath, and she was experimented on in the lab, and she escaped from the lab and ended up in orphanages. Well, in these orphanages, she was adopted. I think the manga says that she was adopted 7 times, but she was returned all 7 times because of her ability. Now, she was really secretive about her ability with all of her other adoptive families, but because she kind of not let on that she had abilities, but because she kind of let it slip every now and then that she was reading somebody's mind or would like say something that somebody was thinking, and it would just kind of freak them out. And so they didn't like that, so they would return her. So when Lloyd shows up, or Twilight shows up, she's reading his mind and figures out that he's looking for a very smart child because he needs a smart child for his mission. And so it's really funny because when he shows up to the orphanage and he gets introduced to her, she reads his mind, reads all of this, and so she grabs the crossword puzzle that's for adults, so the newspaper crossword. And he goes, oh, that's a hard crossword puzzle. I don't think she's gonna get it because even I did it and I had a little trouble, but I'm smart enough to know. And she's basically reading his mind as he's remembering the answers. And she writes it down really fast, shows him, and he's like, oh my gosh, she's a genius. And she's like, yes. So anyway, but she ends up, getting adopted by him. And, through the first episode, there's a point where Lloyd is thinking about taking Anya back because this mission might be too dangerous and he would feel bad putting her in danger. But she basically tells him I want to stay with you, and I will be a good girl, and just all overall just really, really heartwarming. And it's one of those where all she wants, that literally all she wants, is to be loved, to be cherished, and to be part of a family. And she absolutely adores Twilight / Lloyd. She calls him Papa, obviously. But yes, her desire for love and being cherished, that's something that I absolutely relate to, especially in the purest sense of it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure a lot of us can relate to this, but for me specifically, because again, can only talk for myself, I definitely want to be loved. And I feel like I am loved, especially, spiritually. Spiritually, I am very loved. Obviously very loved familially, friendship-wise as well. But obviously, there is that sense of, potential future partner, out there in the world that, who doesn't want to feel loved for who they are, and to not be afraid to voice, our flaws, and to share who we truly, genuinely are with somebody. And to not be afraid of being rejected, because I feel like with Anya, as of right now, she's currently hiding her telepathic abilities. And it's because she is scared. She's scared of being rejected by Lloyd and Yor, who she's very coming to realize that she is extremely attached to these people. for good measure. She's a little girl who's never had a family, and these people were like basically her first family. So yes, she is extremely attached. But yeah, just being able to be loved and cherished for who you are and not have to hide who you generally are, that's really big. And that's something that, you know, obviously I strive to have one day, and I hope to have one day, that I will have one day. But yeah, just kind of facing that, especially because, not to say that that's been the core of my depression, but, you know, I feel like depression, at least with me, with my experience, has just pulled out everything. It makes you face everything, and it's very overwhelming and very disturbing, and most of the time I don't know how to cope with it. But you know what? Books have helped, especially this adorable series, which I highly recommend to all of you, especially if you're looking for just a really cute, comical little story about a fake family trying to make it through and, you know, stop government espionage. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, guys, there we go. And another successful book talk for y'alls. Woof, man, I'm glad I made it through this one. Definitely wanted to take my time. I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning of the video, I was kind of speeding it up, and I was like, oh no, we're doing the bad thing and not taking our time. So, but yes, guys, thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Definitely had some fun. I'm excited to get back into the YouTube videos. And you know what? I think the next video probably, obviously this week is this videos, but probably next week, gonna be working on a new Manga Vibes video. Definitely been just wanting to wait for this series to kind of end. I have to look up to see when the last volume comes out, because if it comes out before I start making this video, you can bet your butt I'm gonna go buy it, so that way I can review the whole series. But if not, then we aren't gonna wait, but we're gonna talk about it still, and then when the last volume comes out, I will make an updated video on that one. But yeah, so definitely gonna be another Manga Vibes video. But guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Do not forget to like, to subscribe, as well as check out my other social medias. Definitely go out and check my TikTok. I am there. I'm gonna start posting there a little bit more often now, just because it's a lot easier to kind of get those guys out. Obviously check out my Instagram if you haven't followed. Definitely we'll just text the links below and stuff. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I love you all. You all know who you are. You guys are amazing, and we'll catch you on the next book.